Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, or depending on when you see this. Hello, Eric Harris here for. I think this is the sixth or the seventh hangout. I lost track of count. It's kind of interesting when you get rolling with something that you enjoy. You tend to lose count of things, but wanted to say hello to everyone out there. I am finishing up, wrapping up some notes and things, trying to find where all my things went. Um, but hello to you all, and I'm glad you all could join for the next Nintex Hangout. There it is. This is exciting. It's an awesome time to. We're wrapping up end of a great year at Nintex. Great year. I joined the company um, from the outside to the inside, so definitely a great year. But a great year for all the things that have been accomplished. Going into this is the first half of the fiscal year for Nintex, but it's the latter half of 2015, which has been a groundbreaking year, and that's an awesome thing. So hugely I mean a lot of compliments to all the employees in Nintex, but then also to all the customers, to all the partners, to everyone that has just participated in making Nintex a success, as well as to those that have used Nintex to be successful in their organizations. We appreciate what you're doing, and definitely wish you all happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Definitely coming in the new year with a big bang, as we finish out this year with workflows and forms and mobile and DocGen down there and other things. I'm just really excited about that, and hope that you don't forget in the time of everything you're doing, you're giving and you're serving and you're being with family and friends. Don't forget to, keep all those other everyone else in the world in your prayers and your thoughts as well, for people that are out there. But anyways, so with no further ado, let's get into it. Um, Alrighty, there's a funny thing about this. Was actually supposed to be like a 5 series pilot just to see how this would kick off, and it's kind of grown, and we're thankful for that. Don't forget to follow us, the YouTube channel. That's probably one of the greatest things about it. And I need to start sharing my screen, but the YouTube channel is one of the things. Following Nintex.com or Nintex on YouTube, you can find a lot of your product updates there, things from new release information to seeing past hangouts to seeing customer experience or user experience videos as well on how other users or how other organizations are using Nintex. Lots of things that are out there, so definitely follow us, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also follow me. You'll see the thing on here for Nintex Live chat at gmail.com. That's one. Or you can follow me on Twitter at eharris04. Follow Nintex at Nintex. So just different ways you can follow us, connect with us, and we'll definitely keep you engaged. There's a lot of things that are coming out that are in the works that will be coming out in 2016, and you don't want to miss out on those. And one of the best ways to do it is to follow us through our social channels or subscribing through the newsletter, which can be found on our website, etc. So just keep that in mind. InspireX, that is another thing as well. Let's see if I can get this thing going. InspireX is coming. We want you to participate in it. We want you to be aware of it. And there we go. Present that to everyone. And I need to get to my InspireX so you can see that. 1 second. Here we go. So company events and webinars, InspireX conference. Well, when that loads, click on the right button there. There we go. The InspireX conference. I mean, this is this is going to be something great. Speaking of great, I have to notate this. Mike Walsh. So I've been following this guy for a while, not stalking him, just following him. Great speaker, great motivational speaker. But more than that, I mean, he's a technology expert, as it says, innovator. He's going to be dropping some crazy knowledge about innovators and troublemakers and how that revolutionizes the industry. And that's something you don't want to miss. The keynote speaker is Mike Walsh for the InspireX conference. You want to register early. Seats are being taken or spaces are being taken, you want to get your spot in as soon as possible. And another thing with that, I mean, one of the things I have to promote out here, the seats are almost filled for this one though, for the Tech Dog Nintex Workflow Platform Jumpstart. It's the pre-day event. It is jam-packed with a bunch of value, a bunch of content that will help you, whether you're new to Nintex or you've been using it for a while. That session will give you a lot of good information, a lot of good data on how to do Nintex better, how to use it better, how to understand it, how to work with it, how to approach things, how to do, what do you do when you want to design a new workflow? I see tons of questions on the community about that. This workshop, if you're coming to the conference, this is a no-brainer, and we're giving it to you for free as a part of your registration if you select it. $495 value. It's almost the cost of the early bird, so you know it's a lot of value in there. So definitely sign up for that. But I also wanted to say one thing as well. So it's a little secret here. It's not really a secret, but it is kind of a secret because I'm making it a secret. InspireX, use the registration code Hangout15 if you are tuning into this. Get the early bird special. Also, registrants you will get put into if you register, paying the price for the registration early bird special. If you do that by December 31st, we're encouraging you to register early on purpose. Do it by December 31st. We're actually doing a sweepstakes to win 2 tickets to Zarkana by Cirque du Soleil, if I said that correctly, which is actually going to be at the area resort as well. So there's 2 shows. That's going to be on a Tuesday evening. It's nothing really going on. We haven't planned a big thing on Tuesday evening, but we're giving away 2 tickets to that show. It's a sweepstakes for anyone that registers. So you want to register. Register soon. There's going to be a random drawing done on the 4th, so Monday the 4th, when everyone gets back, and the winner will be notified via email. Also, hopefully I get to announce that winner live. I'm not sure when the hangout, I haven't looked at the dates for that yet, but I think the hangout will probably be that the 6th. But yeah, we'll announce that, and so you want to get put into that drawing. So register early, use the code Hangout15, get the early bird special, and of course sign up for the Tech Dog pre-day, and come see Mike Walsh and all the other great people that are going to be at InspireX. Lots of sessions. Oh, the sessions. I mean, can't forget the sessions. The sessions is going to be amazing. Looked at the content. I know most of the people speaking, so we can go to the agenda here. Most of the people speaking, and it's going to be good content that is valuable. It's greater than just education. I mean, well, let's say it's education. It is education, but it's not just Nintex stuff. This is SharePoint stuff. This is stuff on how to use SharePoint well, how to plan out your processes, how to work with Salesforce. We even have sessions for draw loop for people that are wanting to do document generation, how to use DocuSign. Look at these. I mean, this is jam-packed sessions that are going to be great content that will enable you to go back into your organizations and provide immediate value on business automation, workflow automation, how to take your processes to a new level, working with Nintex, working with external systems, etc., doing things within Salesforce. How do you create documents? I mean, the DocGen thing came out as well, and a lot of people are like, well, what do I use this for? What's the context for doing this? Well, these sessions will help you understand how to create that good use case scenario to build out with DocGen or document generation, so that you can actually do more workflow automation or do more automating in less time working within those things. So tons of data. Go out there, check it out. It's going to be awesome. And that's all I want to say on that. Is definitely going to be awesome. So looking forward to that. Um, Something that's kind of cool, it's something we're doing internally to Nintex. We are doing a hackathon in 2016. I'm so excited about it. I've worked with several hackathons over the years, for it since hackathons have become a thing. I've worked with several different organizations, helping them to run their hackathons, and this is exciting to kind of see this come back home. As people say, eat your own dog food, which is kind of a weird saying, but eat your own dog food, or do what you preach, do exactly what you're telling other people to do. And we're doing something similar internally. That'll be happening in 2016. And the reason why I'm saying that, while you may not be able to directly participate in it, obviously being an external person or being a customer or user, you will hugely benefit from that because it's going to be taking all the brains across the company, pairing them together in groups and teams, and we're going to be tackling things that will you'll see coming out in products, you'll see coming out in processes, whatever it may be. We're going to hack Nintex. We're going to be hacking our way to create solutions that do things better, et cetera. And you're definitely going to be a benefit of that. So if you have any ideas or thoughts to say, hey, you should look at this, or hey, you all should consider this, whatever, tweet them to me at eharris04 or ping me on the community. Send me a note in the community saying, hey, this might be a great idea if Nintex could do X. And I'll take those things and we'll definitely create those ideas and see if we have developers or engineers or whoever that might want to tackle doing that during our hackathon event that's going to be here in 2016. So don't wait. Send your ideas early. The earlier you can, the earlier we can get those things vetted to figure out what can and can't be done, etc. So just a way for, again, you, the customer, users, partners, to help affect the company as we all work together towards a positive change. So really excited about that. Another thing, Nintex Connect, so the community site, we're looking at some things, trying to address some things, and Frank, get with him on as a community manager on how we can use the community site better. How can we make it better? There's tons of questions out there, and there's always more questions than there are answers. But how do we help categorize or display the content in a way that helps you find it faster, so you get your answers, and then also find resources that help you find the answers without necessarily having to ask the same questions over and over again? How can we do that? So there are several polls on the community. I'm actually going to navigate to see if I can find a few. There are several polls on the community that can help you all, or that we can use rather, to garnish feedback from you all on things. Let's just actually go here and let's see if I can do poll. Cheating because I was doing it a different way. Not necessarily the way I wanted to do it, because I could actually just go there. So Nintex connectors, actually that's a poll that I created. So this is one for an example, where, wanting to find out, what do you all use? Have you seen these? If you're using Office 365 or you have Nintex Live installed, which are some of the ones that you use? Which ones do you like, etc.? So DocuSign, Salesforce, Dropbox, Google, Bing, etc. What are they? Or do you have one that you want that you don't see listed? We need to know that information. How else can we give you the right connectors if we don't know what you want to use? And so this is one of those things that it should take less than a minute to go through, read them, and then say, okay, yep, I want that one, or I like this one, and let us know. This feedback is helpful, and this is just one of the polls that's on the community. Actually, I just click on polls and see some of the other ones. Workflow migration path, that's another one that I've seen that I actually created. But it's around migrations. And speaking of migrations, that's one of the questions that we have today that we'll address, dealing with migrations. But it's, if you're trying to do migrations, are you trying to do it on-prem to 365? Are you trying to go to on-prem 365? And would you be migrating back to on-prem? Or what are your scenarios? Most of the scenarios that we've encountered today have been going from an on-premises to SharePoint, and most of the cases been like SharePoint 2010, or maybe even some SharePoint 2013, and they're trying to move to Office 365 because it's, I mean, well, one, Microsoft's pushing for it, but two, Office 365 offers some really great, robust things without the headache of having to manage your infrastructure. There are some drawbacks to it, but I'll let Microsoft handle that piece of it. When it comes to Nintex, people are trying to migrate between the two, and they're saying, I want my workflow to just move from one to the other, not taking into consideration the fact that Office 365, so you have Office 365 and then SharePoint on-prem, they are technically, from Microsoft's standpoint, two different platforms. So there are things that can work on both, and there are some things that can't work because of how tenancy is done, how permissions are done, and things of that nature. And Microsoft's still working to figure some of that out. But then also they've done a lot as far as making the platform in 365 really robust. And then we have the the latest release of the beta bits for SharePoint 2016. Awesome, brand new thing as well. It shores up the stack for SharePoint Server. Not change. It's not going to be drastic changes out there. There's actually a post. I'll see if I can find it and post it on the community from ShareGate's Ben, one of the MVPs for SharePoint, and he did a really good evaluation of here's some of the things that's coming in 2016. So you definitely want to see, take a look at that. But it's a lot of content as far as those things are concerned. When it comes to Nintex, understanding that uh, the functionality of the workflow will work functionally as it should, as it did on prem to 365, but that may mean utilizing 365 actions in a different manner than what you did on prem. And that's actually one of the things that I've seen happen with a lot of customers in the past trying to do a migration using the tools like ShareGate, AvePoint, Metalogix, etc. They just think, oh, I can just migrate my content and migrate my workflow. And not necessarily the case. For example, if you're using a call web service, your authentication method for that call web service on prem more than likely will change because your reference parameters with 365 are different. And it's just because you're pointing to two different endpoints and you're also authenticating through a different mechanism. So things like that, or whether you're doing it, so call web service, if you're doing request data, if you're actually pulling in external information, those things will break from the simple fact that you're going to a different platform. And when you start to look at, okay, functionally, what am I trying to do with my workflows on prem? All right, what am I really trying to do with my workflow in 365? And the truth be told, you not every workflow can migrate. Not every workflow should migrate. There are some things that you just should not do in 365. And if you go out there on TechNet or whatever, and you look at the Microsoft articles on workflow processing with the workflow manager, and that's available 365 and on prem, you'll notice some differences because of how, again, permissions, content management, making sure that things are secure, that start to prevent what you can do on prem you can't necessarily do in 365. So just keep those things in mind as you start to look at those things and start to do migrations. I know I harped on that just a little bit more than normal, but because it's something that's been coming up so much over the past, I would say for me, 6 months, seeing it from the Nintex side, but so much. And then also the fact that we have a survey out here, asking, what are you trying to do? Just tell us, what are you trying to do? And we'll figure out ways to help you do that with our product, obviously. So good information out there on that, and definitely glad to assist. One of the other things I want to do, and I'm going to actually go back here to show you inside of inside of the community product release announcements. Um, you can ignore this little thing. I have more permissions than I should. um, Speaking of, this reminded me because I didn't put it in my notes. Nintex DrawLoop doc generation includes Office 365 integration. Pause for sound effect. Can I do a sound effect on here? Call an applause. I don't see it in here. But yeah, we'll clap for it. Yay. Awesome. This is huge. This is exciting. This is something else that came about thanks to Jason Siever, who's the product marketing manager working with the Jarloop guys down there in Irvine to do this huge release. This is more than just for Office 365. The Office 365 piece is great, but it's way more than that. Also, it involves the Loop document service. It upgrades to that from the Salesforce side. So anybody that's on Salesforce, anyone that's using Salesforce, if you have Salesforce in your organization, go out there and check out the Loop document service. Actually, let's just pull that up. Why don't we? So that you can see it in the App Exchange. See it for yourself. So not secondhand knowledge, firsthand knowledge. Firsthand knowledge is always good. So let's go here and look for Loop. See if we can do this. Should I do this correctly or not? Oh, there it is. So right here in the App Exchange, it's super easy to install into your own Salesforce tenant. If you are using Salesforce, you hopefully should know, or your Salesforce admin. admin will know how to get this installed. We also have test drives available. But this, I mean, there's a the new release is great. It provides you with, let's see what they said on the integration. So the ability actually, yeah, to post and to use and leverage 365 documents as templates within the Loop document service is great. Also, some other things up here, some really cool updates. Wait a minute, I just saw this, the Nintex forms for Salesforce One. So being able to design, deploy, and access customized Nintex forms directly from their mobile device. That's new. Actually, it's not too new. I was doing that. We were doing that a little bit before, and we did some test cases around it. But for people that don't know, you can now, not knocking Salesforce, but Salesforce Forms is not as robust as it could be. It's slightly difficult to manage, to customize, and it generally takes a developer to do it. One of the reasons why Nintex exists, why we're so great, why our tools are so good, is we take the headache away from it. We enable you, the power user, the business owner, the process owner, to actually go in, design, now in this case, your own form. You can actually link it to Salesforce One or leverage it from Salesforce One, the mobile app. So now you're interacting with Salesforce data, interacting with document generation. So you're actually now creating, so you can do a quote right there on the spot, working with a client, working with a customer. And for example, say insurance, you're out there and you're doing a claim. You don't have to go into your Salesforce app, create a new whatever, and do all this other stuff. You can access an Nintex mobile form right there, fill out the information. You can retrieve. I know this because I actually built out an example scenario for this. You can retrieve the customer's account. You can create a new account if you wanted to, or you can retrieve a customer account. You can actually create an invoice or a quote right there on the spot, or in this case, a appraisal form or something that's sort for insurance, and you can actually have that emailed to them. You can take it a step further. You can, I mean, let's just look at this. This is so awesome. And it's what it's doing is it's taking a complete business solution and we're enabling that from start to finish, so you own the full process, the full experience for that user. So being able to, now you can store those, you can actually store those within Box if you want to, or leverage them from Box. But then with Kudasign and Solanas, you can actually utilize both of those e-signature pieces along with DocuSign if you wanted to push that document. So the email comes through, you can push it over to DocuSign, Kudasign, or Solanas to have someone sign it, so they can sign it, and then you can retrieve it. You can return them to another URL, say thank you for that. You can prompt them for anything else. I mean, this is huge. And then also storing that data back. I mean, Kudasign is field integration, so now the ability to capture the data during the signing process and store data. So say they had a comment or something, capture that and store that back onto the Salesforce record, gives you more flexibility with owning that document process. Or rather the business process where the document's a piece of it. So now you're able to do this. This is something that, yeah, we definitely should talk to like our legislators and people to get them away from like all the paper-based systems that they're doing, and more into how to leverage forms electronically. Instead of them printing a document every time, they can actually generate a document electronically, and if they need to print it, then they can go to print that as secondary, but we're not wasting paper just to be wasting paper, or printing for that sake. But then also here's another update as well, the ability to, in PowerPoint. So you may not know before, but you can actually create PowerPoints with document generation. So being able to grab information from several different libraries or whatever, and then posting that into a PowerPoint slide or a PowerPoint deck. You can now update the note sections as well, which is good, because if someone had comments, say, hey, this is a great slide, but you need to type these, you need to have these different bullet points when you're presenting it. You can actually push that information into PowerPoint, into the slide deck, etc., via the DocGen, the Loop services, part of that document generation. Awesome. So excited for the guys and the girls down there doing that work. Another thing was there's a video there, Movember. I have to talk about this. This is kind of funny. So you have Kelly and Dan working on the product releases. They do an awesome job of just trying to give you all the best, the snippets around, the summaries around what's new, what's latest, and how it all works. So I mean, they are running around trying to help pull that information together and make sure that you all know what what you need to know. So with that, I just wanted to say that he's definitely rocking the Movember mustache and then the beard here. So just something to say. But the product release area, this is something if you want to know what came out, etc. These are some of the things that came out. Nintex Forms, SQL, and web service request enhancements. Those are things that, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that comes out over the year, and sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle with a lot of data, a lot of other content. Emails get lost or deleted or whatever. But here is concise. This shows you kind of what Nintex has released. Hey, there's me. But this shows you, what's been released, what's available, what you should expect if you're not seeing something. Do you have the latest version of Nintex installed? Have you done an update? If you're just buying it and you don't know what to do or how to use it or what do you have available, here's a section that you can go to do that. And again, feedback is important. If you want to see something done differently, if you have comments or suggestions, email them, send me a note on the community, say, hey, this is great, would like. Email Frank on the community as well. He's definitely open to suggestions and ideas. We want this stuff to work for you. We want to make it as easy as possible for you. We want to make it where it's usable. We don't want to just throw a lot of content out there. We want to make the content consumable and in a way that empowers you to come in, get what you need, and even spend time helping others find what they need as well. The community only works as well as the community members, and we know that, and we value you all, and that's another reason for the points as well. And that's just interesting. Just have like a lot of stuff to talk about, but again, it's the you provide the value, and we want to ensure that your value is being shown or appreciated as well in the community. So a lot of stuff there. Um, as we get into the Q&A piece of it, it's is interesting. I'm trying to find a couple of things. Uh, I do appreciate. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Raphael Bachman. He shot me a Twitter from the last Hangout, and he sent a question. Uh, what is it? Stepping through good workflow for this scenario. Where is it at? I have it out here somewhere. There it is. But he sent me a tweet for a question in the community, and I'm giving him a shout out to say thank you for doing it. Thanks for following me. Thanks for engaging, and hopefully I can answer the question. I looked at it earlier, and it's not one of those questions where you can do just a quick answer as much as it's thought logic behind. And that's honestly, that's from what I see, that's a lot that's in the community, where people tend to ask questions that I'm not going to say they're not misleading by any means, but ask questions that don't have a direct response, but it's more of a, hey, is this a good idea? Is this the best way to do that? And I personally like those questions because they're asking for someone to think and not just chime out and throw a response out there, but really help me think through what I'm trying to do. This is business process stuff, and you can't just answer some of those and yeah, use this action, but it's really, is this the right action to be using? Imagine, I mean, it's almost like it is a tool. I mean, the platform, Nintex workflow platform, is a platform that can be used to do so many different things, and there's so many different approaches, and that's one of the reasons you'll always hear me say I don't really want to go after and say, here's Nintex best practices. I want to say, here's some good practices that can be done to help you achieve what you try to do. Because at the end of the day, you can do it a easy way or a hard way. You can use a state machine or you can build multiple workflows. Both of those aren't wrong. The only thing that's really wrong is when it either destroys your environment, causes your environment to lock up for some reason, or creates an unruly amount of notifications and things that doesn't enable the process, but rather hinders the process. Then that's wrong. But if you want to, do something and it takes you 5 steps to do it, and someone else figures out a different way, for example, to call web service, and they can do it in two actions, and you have 4 actions using Nintex actions to do that, those aren't wrong. They're just 2 different approaches that still give you the same result. And depending on your comfort level, the tool helps you do that. And that's one of the greatest things about our product. So with that being said, this question was posted by Raphael. So I'll read about it really quick. SharePoint migration 2010 to 2013, need of a Nintex workflow restart. So what the person's asking is, they're planning to migrate and they've checked the FAQ and stuff, and they don't know if some of the workflows, if they need credentials, will they need to be restarted? And they're using Nintex and they want to know, also will they require a product license for Nintex workflow to do this when they're doing the migration? So let's approach the first piece of it first. The first piece is, when doing a migration, will the workflows need to be restarted? The answer to that is always yes. And the only reason why I say that is you're moving a workflow from one environment to another. The workflow instance can't continue running and stay in a running state as you move it from one environment to another. So the first concept is understanding how SharePoint works. When you get to that level, you then start to figure out, oh, okay, I will need to do this. And some of this, I mean, this is no problem. I mean, this person's new to Nintex, etc. So no problem at all. This is great to have that conversation. But yeah, when you start a workflow, when you do a migration, your workflows, you either need to complete. Ideally, is you should complete as many workflows as possible and then migrate those workflows over to the new environment. When you get them to the new environment, if you need to restart them, go ahead and restart them. But again, migrate them over. The migration has to have a hard stop because SharePoint does not recognize running instances. And another reason for that, going deeper into it, is the fact that SharePoint timer jobs run the workflows technically behind the scenes, and I'm missing some things in there, but just take my word for it. The timer jobs are running, and so they're running on a timer schedule. And when you do a migration, the old or your SharePoint 2010, in this instance, SharePoint 2010, SharePoint 2013, your SharePoint 2010 instance is going to need to stop so that your SharePoint 2013 instance can start. So with that being said, yes, the first part of that, you would need to restart those. If you have credentials, the credentials will need to be, make sure the credentials are matching, that they're correct, that the user credentials are correct, etc., and then restart that. The second part of that question was dealing around product licensing. When doing a migration, we at Nintex want to work with you. So, but however, with that in mind, you can't take a 2010 license and apply it to a 2013 server. The licenses are server specific. They're also farm specific for that reason, to avoid people from trying to cheat the system. However, if you're doing a true migration, we're willing to work with you to give you an interim period license to help you do your migration testing. You should always, capital always, do migration testing before you migrate anything. As a result, we are willing to work with you and help you do that by providing you with a provisional license to stand up your 2013 environment. I've worked on so many migrations. Actually, that brings up a really good point. I'm going to bring up my um, migration blog, which actually I will reference in this as well. And let's see if I can get that done. But I'm going to, working with so many migrations, this is something that you should be aware of, that we want to help you migrate, and once you migrate, we can then transfer over your license from the 2010 to the 2013. So with that being the case, there we go, found that one. Two things to note on there. I use Happy Mill on that one. But with that being the case, this, if you're planning to migrate, I would definitely recommend reading through this. I also recommend, if you can, work with a migration partner. It makes the migration so much easier. You can do a migration with PowerShell. You can do a migration by transferring databases. I personally don't recommend, if you don't know what you're doing, to do that. Use a tool. It's a lot easier. The tools have built-in checks, built-in reporting, built-in so for example, if your migration takes a long time, you can, instead of it timing out, they can actually pick up and continue that to avoid that timeout piece. There's so many benefits to working with a migration tool. It's not always the case, doesn't always mean that it should be possible, but when you can, I would recommend it. And I'm not pushing any of them. I'm saying in general, as an approach, that's something that you should do. So definitely taking a look at that. Let's see here. Let's go back to that. Let's see, where was I at? So when using, there we go. So for this one, back to the license. I almost missed that. We will work with you on the licenses, and yes, you would need to have the licenses for 2013. Um, the 2010 license in this case will not work. I did read through Andrew's post, was pretty spot on with that, and so we'll get Frank to mark that one correct so that we can get this one out of the unmarked the unanswered questions and into the answered questions. This is for, um, and the other thing about that, this is actually inside of the 365 discussion. Not sure how that got in there, but we'll get that posted to the correct area so that you all can see that. But again, excited about the fact that that question came up. One of the things I wanted to go into after that was the deep linking for Nintex Mobile. Again, one of the you all will notice there's several people that are on the community that tend to live here. Andrew's one of those. We really appreciate what he does for the community. Really helpful, and he put out a post about deep linking for mobile and kind of how you do that. A lot of people, from what we have seen, from what I've seen, a lot of organizations are still trying to figure out the mobile experience. They're trying to figure out, how do I want my users to interact with mobile, with the mobile device, whether it be a phone or an iPad, tablet, etc. And what do I want them to do? Nintex is right along with you in that conversation, because if you're dealing with business processing and if you're working with data or you're working with entry, so forms, etc., we're right there with you. I know a lot of people have been asking about form signature, so being able to sign a form right there on the screen, so literally signing, not sending it off to DocuSign or whatever, but doing each signature right there on the screen. Printing forms have been another thing that's been mentioned. Let's see what else has been mentioned. Using forms or being able to interact with forms, etc., via the mobile, and actually posting information into a form from particular workflows or processes. Those things I mentioned are actually on our roadmap. We're working on, we're developing, we're looking at use cases. We're looking to make sure that when we release a feature, something that is beneficial, something that you can use, and something that, again, enables the business process. It doesn't prevent it or it doesn't slow it down. So keep that in mind as you go into the end of this year and the next year. We have some updates that'll be coming. One of the biggest updates for the product yet, from my perspective, one of the biggest updates that was really cool was around the international languages, just enabling or empowering people to use it in multiple languages. That was a huge release that came out this year. Some of the other things, hyperlinking in forms, giving you the ability to do the hyperlinking where you can click and it could bounce out to Word or to another site or to another thing, giving you that ability as well, and retrieving data. So within a web form, you have data in SQL database or something using OData, you can retrieve that data into the Nintex form. Those are things that are helpful and things that, again, we're enabling that business process. And some of the things you're like, well, why don't you have this already? Why can't we do this or that, et cetera? The idea is we want to provide the business value, and we have to do it within context of what we have resources to do. So it's not like we just magically click a button and do that. If you look at, well, InfoPath does this, or this web form, this Wufoo Forms or whatever does this, why can't your forms product do that? Some of the times you got to look at the constraints. So what platform are they running on? And InfoPath, look at that product was built over, I want to say 15 years. Even if I want to backdate that a little bit, 10 years, the product has been out there, it's been robust, and Microsoft put a lot of money into that product just to sunset it. Go figure. So those are some things that, as you look at our products and things like that, and I speak for someone that was a huge user of InfoPath access forms, HTML. I mean, I built HTML Java forms, I built other forms, and using Nintex forms. And I can tell you that the designer helps. It enables business users and other power users to use it and design things. So and the product's maturing as well. So it's there, it's coming, it's being worked on, and we are listening to you. So with that in mind, if you have other comments and questions, check out User Voice, uservoice.nintex.com, or I think it's actually nintex.uservoice. Let me Nintex, it is nintex.uservoice.com. I say this in almost every hangout. But nintex.uservoice.com, Nintex forums for SharePoint, for example, and we can go to top ideas. So printing functionality, told you we're working on it. So Alex Burton, I want to say he's the manager over the product managers. So he's actually running the show down in Melbourne, Australia. But we're working on it, and we're trying to figure out ways to do that. The other one as well, save without closing form. I missed that one. These are things that we're working on. But I mean, like for example, to save without closing a form, what does that really mean? You know, how do you really do that, and what all does that involve? It's not just all right, put a button that says save. You know, what does that do to the data? How do you refresh that? Do you refresh the page? Do you just refresh the frame where the form is? Do you only refresh certain fields or certain controls of the form? Things like that. So there's a lot of things that are kind of, I'm not going to say up in the air, but are to be discovered with when people ask about certain functions and things that they want. And so with that, we try to figure those things out. Another thing that's coming up really soon is we'll have beta testing. Well, we do beta testing now, but we're working with the UXD, the user experience design group, to figure out ways to involve or include more users such as yourself in helping us to understand not only the functionality of what you want, but the how do we build and design what you want so that it's beneficial for you. So keep those things in mind if you want to take part in that. If you're interested in signing up to be a part of our user experience group, whether it is a survey, getting access to pre-release information to help us do testing on it, or even just giving us feedback on how this thing looks or functions, email me, or I guess email me through the community, or again using Twitter at eharris04. Send me your name and say I want to be a part of a Nintex user experience group or user experience program, and I'll get you plugged in with the right people so that you can engage us, help us understand how to make the products better for you. And it's a two-way street. We make the products good for you, use the products, and you do well in your organization, your business. So all right, with that, let's see if we can bounce to another question really quick. I had a couple more, and I'm looking to see where it is. There we go. All righty. And then I can like randomly pick a question in the community, see if I can answer it right. All right, so task complete, but outcome remains pending. I saw this one, and there wasn't an immediate answer on that one. This actually is a conflict within Nintex and SharePoint, but it's actually more conflict with SharePoint. Remember that the timer jobs govern how things run, and in this case, you can read through it if you want to later on. But the premise of it is that basically the workflow is running fine, then all of a sudden it started hiccuping. Is a good term for it, but it basically started. It would get stuck, and then it would randomly complete. It would get stuck and then randomly complete. And in that case, I would recommend looking at the timer jobs, make sure the timer jobs are firing off correctly. I would also look at any ULS logs to see if there's any indicators or anything else going awry in the system, um, or looking at when you're firing it off, look at any events. There could be a backup or something running on a server that is running at a certain time that actually causes the timer job to stop running for a particular period of time and then pick back up, and that pause in that could actually affect the workflow completion time and things of that nature. So there's a couple of things that you can do there to look at that, and it can, yeah, definitely help with there it is. It could definitely help you in understanding what should be going on with regards to the workflows potentially stopping. So just some things to consider there. I am looking for, I had a couple of questions that some people had posted to me, and I provide a response. Let's see if I can find find that. Here it is, one. There was a question on empty initiator email. Let's see if I can find that. Let's see if I can put that out there for you, everyone to see. Empty initiator, empty initiator email. I've actually been trying to work this one through with Samuel, saying that an empty initiator email. We've been going back and forth. It's kind of funny, but it's good. And this is one of the things that you can see out here on the community, that some of the answers are not as clear. And so when you look at things, I would always recommend to use search. Go ahead and use search to find as best you can something that's close to what you're looking for, before you just go out here and randomly create another question. And this helps us to keep the content good and concise. But in some cases, the user often doesn't really know what they're looking for, and this is one of those cases where just having to work with the user to figure out, okay, what exactly is the issue. And in this one, this is a good example. He's saying the initiator email is empty, and so just trying to understand what exactly does it mean by the initiator email. That's a really good question, so that we can understand that and then move that forward. Let's see if we can find another one. Here's another question for you all really quick. That was really good. Um, Alrighty. And Andrew, again, he actually answered the question well. I added some context to it. And the reason why I'm posting this is, again, this is on working with Nintex and helping users understand how Nintex can run. So, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Hi. Um, But what happens when running a workflow instance if you republish the workflow in 365, and is there any official documentation on it? Um, Carlos, no, there's no official documentation, as Andrew said. Or at least I don't know of any. I haven't seen any myself, haven't really wrote any either. This is one of those kind of assumed things when you're working with Nintex. And utilizing the workflows, knowing that, okay, so workflow instances, when you have a workflow running on a list item or a library, there's an instance of the workflow running. So for example, you create a new workflow and then you run it against an item. That workflow has an instance running against that item. If you were to, while that workflow was still in an incomplete or a running state, if you were to go into into the designer, add a new action, change or modify something, reconfigure, save, and publish it, that will create a new instance of the published workflow. So now you have two instances of the published workflow that could potentially run. However, you can't rerun the same workflow, same name. So basically, same name, same GUID ID. You can't rerun that workflow on the same item if the workflow is already running. If you were to rename the workflow to a completely new workflow name, even if it did the same thing, you could, because it would generate a new GUID with based on the fact that it was a different name, etc. There's some things in there with SharePoint Workflow Manager that happens, but you could do that. Um, with that being said, if you were to modify it and you were to have that item one is running the workflow instance, and then you create item two and you're running the new workflow instance, or the new workflow with a new configuration, new item, whatever, new action, whatever that's in there, the item one won't update or do anything new. It's going to run based on basically the history of what that workflow was told to do when you first published it. Even though you've republished a new workflow or republished and added some configuration changes to the existing workflow, it's not going to make any changes. For example, if you have actually, why don't I just show you? It's a lot easier to show than it is to tell sometimes. So why not show you what exactly I mean by this? Let's go into my SharePoint environment here. To give you full context of what I mean by instances of a workflow, and I've actually been doing some practicing with one of yeah, I can do this here. So take, for example, let's go to this workflow. So this workflow is running. It's actually started on this item test purchase. This is a workflow that's actually started. So if I go here, and part of this workflow is built to assign a task. So it is started and it's supposed to assign a task, and I have it paused at that point. This workflow is an instance of the workflow purchase workflow running on this one item, and it was started at this time. If I were to go into, let's go back and do this. If I go into my Nintex workflow, and in here, if I were to modify this workflow and say, for example, I wanted to log to history. Let's do that. It's taking some time. I have a lot of stuff running on my computer. Let's see here. There we go. All right. Let's, for example, I want to log the history, the fact that it was approved before it assigns a new task out or something. And I want to grab the task ID. And that's a workflow variable, I know, because I created it. So let me do that. Let me add that back in. If I do this, so give me that. There we go. Save. And then I click here, publish. I can actually do this. It's not going to hurt anything. Publish, and I want to say I want to update it, the log to history, and publish. I do that. This workflow will now have a new instance of the workflow. So instance one was what I had before I modified and added the log to history. Instance two now has the workflow with the log to history. Those are two separate instances that can run. Here's the kicker on that. The reason why this is so important to understand. The workflow, so let's actually, let me get back to this. So, all right, if I were to create a new item or take this and run this, I can't just go to workflows because this one already has one started. I can't kick off a new workflow, the same type workflow. Even though this is updated, I can't kick this workflow off on this same item because the item already has an instance of the workflow already running, even though it's an old instance. I want to be very clear about that. Even though this is an old instance, now this is an old instance. It was already started. It has old information. I wanted to run the new one. I can't. Why? Because it's already started. I can, even if I suspended it, this instance will be suspended, not stopped or terminated. So the only way to get this item to run with the new changes of the workflow would be to terminate this workflow and to start a new workflow on it. That's the only way to do that. Um, if I were to take this workflow or this item and start this, so that, oh, that one does have one too. Great. So much fun for my demo. Let me end this workflow because that's doing something different. And let's go out here. Actually, let's just create a new one for just for the demo's sake. Alrighty, title, let's gonna say new purchase workflow update. And I'm going to do this because I have to do that. And I'm going to make this a manager, add the person in there. There we go. And save. So I just created a new item. If I were to come to here, workflows, and start this workflow, starting this workflow, as I just did, will use the changes that I just made. However, if I go back to this workflow list, let's go to, actually it should be items workflow. This workflow will not pick up any of the new changes regardless of what I've done because it's an old instance. And that's a really great thing to know because this helps in this situation completely. If you have an item running and you want to update the workflow, one or two things happen. Either let those items that were existing before run with the old logic and then finish, or you can terminate those old instances or those old workflows running. Just simply go in, you can either terminate them one by one, or you can create another workflow to terminate existing instances. You could do that to manage multiple workflows at one time. You could do that. And then you would want to restart the workflow on those items. Just being careful to know that that could have some impact on your farm. And in 365, there is throttling involved that Microsoft does on its its own. So those workflows may not all start automatically. Just something to note there. But for this case, this workflow, the original workflow will complete, and it will complete with the old logic, and then any new item that you run will run with the new logic at that time as well. So the only way to get new logic to run on an old item is to terminate the workflow that's running on the old item and then restart the workflow, thus initiating a new instance with the new logic on that item. So I hope that helped on that situation. Hopefully that helped. We are nearing the end of the hour. This has been fun and exciting. Definitely fun for me, just going through some of these things and just really sharing some of those details. I'm going to do something. I'm going to show you all something that's really cool, really quick. So as of right now, this is a DeLorean. Um, in the community, most of you all know that if you get a certain amount of points, you can potentially get the DeLorean. I'm going to actually try to see if I can view my own profile. See what it is. I haven't actually seen my own profile in a while. Hey, there's my little doggy. How nice. Viewpoints detail. So you can, there are ways, did I do that correctly? Missions. Yep, here we go. So levels. So DeLorean, it takes 88,000 points to get to the DeLorean. That's a lot of points. And it's going to take a lot. But the other thing that's going to be interesting is starting Jan 1, these points are going to be wiped. And Frank has been hard at work working with the Jive platform people to help build different ways for people to get points. So be on the lookout for that. Don't be discouraged if you're not, I would say, one of the overall leaders in the community. Points is not everything. In some cases, points help us at Nintex recognize people that are actually providing value in the community. Points should help you in the community. If someone as a leader in the community with a lot of points is answering your question, you should be assured the question is generally right, or at least pointing you in the right direction. But don't be dismayed by that. Points is not everything. Hey, this is me live. Great. Points is not everything in the sense that points will not make or break whether or not you should use the community. You should use the community because the community is useful. And then the points is an example or a display of how useful it is to you and how useful you are to the community. So we want everybody to know that. And we also want to make it fair. Getting the highest amount of points does help. It does help you to become what they started in 2014 is an Nintex champion. So that is a great thing. And the Nintex champions are vital to the community and to the product as well, because you help other people do better with Nintex. So I don't want to undermine any of that. But what I want to say is don't get discouraged if you're not in the top 10 or top 15. Still help out. We can't do it alone. It's a massive amount of people. We have over 8,000 people that are active on the community. And that's a lot of questions. A lot of people asking questions, a lot of people wondering, what is this? What is that? So we need all the help we can get. But in return for the getting, we like to give as well. And like I said, with the experience, so one of the ways you can give, if you work at a partner company, we you could become a VTE, and there isn't an application process for that. The VTEs are selected by the TE, so people like myself and other TEs in the company, as well as other people within the community that recognize someone as a leader in the community that is influential. It's similar to the MVP program that Microsoft has. Very similar process where the more you contribute to the community, the more people recognize you as a thought leader or as a leader in the community, and as a result, we want to recognize you as well. So that's what the VTE program is for. It doesn't have to be hugely sales. It's actually more technical, because we need you to help provide technical answers and information. So that's one thing to note. One of the other things about the community is that we also have the Nintex champions. Ideally, the champions don't always have to be VTEs. Not the case. VTEs have to be a partner organizations. Champions do not. But those are ways that you can kind of rise to prominence within the Nintex community and show your thought leadership Other areas and ways you can do that is getting certified. We have the Workflow Pro and the Workflow Admin certifications. Those are available. Those can help you or enable you to demonstrate more knowledge and process information about Nintex as well. So those are different things you can do. And again, the value is back to the community. So with no further ado, I would like to take this opportunity. I might do another video or another like quick hangout right before the holidays, but if not, just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for a wonderful year. Thank you for allowing me to entertain you for the hours on end that I've done via the Nintex Hangouts. Thanks to all the guests that have showed up for this year. I think we found a really good format with this, and we will be building it out from here. In the new year, we'll be looking to actually have more guests on more frequently. We're going to also start targeting specific topics. So look out for those, whether it be forums, mobile, document generation, Office 365. It might be doing things with Nintex external to SharePoint. We're going to start having topics so that you can understand, and you'll also be able to see which Hangout you need to pay attention to as well, and which ones you should be invited to. And like I said, so we'll have guests on here and participants. If you want to participate, ping me, tweet me, chat me, text me, do those things. Let me know. Let me know how you like these sessions as well. Do you find them interesting, engaged on the YouTube channel? Post your comments. We want to hear from you. I want to hear from you, more importantly, so that I can help provide and bring more information to you on Nintex, on the products, how to use them, different use cases, scenarios, and answers as well in the community. So don't forget that. And 2016 is going to be a great year. We have our InspireX conference. Register for that before the end of the year to get into the drawing for the show tickets that'll be on Tuesday. Also register for the pre-day before the seats are out on that. I'm not sure actually how many seats are available, but I do know we're over halfway full, which is kind of funny because if we're over halfway full, I should know the number of seats, right? They didn't tell me all that information, but that's something to be aware of. I was told we are over halfway full. So you want to get registered. It's free information. You don't want to pass up free. And if you're already traveling, I think it's actually cheaper to travel in on a Sunday anyway. So why not come early, be a part of the session, register, use the Hangout 15 to get the early bird, and also to enter a chance to win the tickets as well. So with that, thank you again. It's been a wonderful year, and look forward to seeing you next year with more things to come from Nintex. Have a good one.